Welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing podcast. I'm Kay Doran, a shamanic leadership coach and healer, guiding you through life with a foot in both worlds. When you understand the terrain of the inner landscapes, the mental, emotional, spiritual and energetic, you will become the leader within your physical life, both personally and professionally. After all, the power of change is in your hands. Let's get this journey started. Welcome back to Inner Voice of Knowing. I've got an incredibly special guest to introduce you to. You'll find this possibly surprising and wonderfully exciting. You know, some follow the path and others open it. And Fiona Horne is one of the original pioneers of modern witchcraft, long before it was visible, accepted or safe to claim. And from fronting Deaf FX to becoming a best-selling author of 17 books, commercial pilot, world record skydiver, she's never lived inside a single identity. Her latest work, Coven, Where Witches Gather, calls a new generation back to community, leadership and shared power. She didn't wait for permission, she became it. Fiona, welcome to Inner Voice of Knowing, and thank you so much for saying yes to coming on.
Oh, thank you for that introduction, Kay. I got goosebumps as you said that.
Beautiful.
It's always interesting hearing how someone else would sum up me, and because I often think that it's a reflection of the person talking. So I would just offer all those kudos back to you for your path and what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And I very much can relate. I've taken a couple of days looking through your book and last night sat in bed reading. And I really have the greatest of respect for you, Fiona, because you know, I'm 61 now, and when I was 25, I found out that I was a shaman. I'd been told at the age of 4, but hadn't remembered. And back in the day, being a woman with, you know, blonde hair and big blue eyes and so young, saying I'm a shaman was now every
subverted the dominant paradigm somewhat.
Yes. And you know, that wasn't as popular as it is now. Now people are calling themselves shamans, even if they're not, or if they're you know, not understanding the difference of walking that particular path. Or when did you recognize that you were a witch?
Well, I think I've said this a couple of times in this recent tour, because as we grow and evolve, I mean, you mentioned you're 61, I'm turning 60 this year. So it's like, when you have the opportunity to reflect back with the perspective you have now, maybe with less ego identity, more just an observation, I would offer that I was a witch before I had a word for it. I knew I was before I had a word for it, because as a very young child, I felt a remarkable affinity with the natural world, more than normal. Certainly more than any other young people my age, or kids that my mother would want me to play with, or kids at school. I just was always off in the bush. I was a loner. I tried to fit in, but didn't. You know, I was bullied a lot as a kid. All the things, you know, the things that back then you didn't have support for. But I always found peace in the bush, and I felt safe there. And I think part of that was because of the genius of my mother, my father, whatever, saying, go out and play in the bush, kids, and come back in time for dinner. That was the era of growing up. I was born in 66. That was my life. As 5, I was 71. So in the 70s, you just run into the bush and you play. And they say, be careful of spiders and snakes. But I always felt fascinated by spiders and snakes, and I would watch them, especially one particular snake that I knew would be on a certain rock warming up, a red-bellied black snake around the same time every day. And I would just watch it. And you know, it's like the comfort I felt in the bush, the sense of purpose and fulfillment and identity that I enjoyed in the bush. I felt it knew me and I knew it. And nature and I had a really close friendship, better than any other friendship or lack of friendships I had in other parts of my life. And from spell casting and things, you know, I've talked about this and it's in my books, but it's like I used to look at the trees. My first spell I remember is looking up at the trees and saying it was a very still, very hot day. And I said, blow, wind, blow, make my feet and fingers glow, blow, wind, blow, make my feet and fingers glow. And I said it over and over and over again. And then the wind just whipped up. I always remember how the gum trees just went, oh. And I was convinced I made that happen. Convinced. And I had it just was just, that's what happens, and I could talk to flowers, and I could choose if this one blooms before that one, that's a yes and that's a no. So I will know that it's correct if this one goes, and wrong if this one goes first. Like, I was just intuitively doing this. And when I learned in the 80s about, the New Age sort of movement grew, blossomed, and there were books like Shakti Gawaine's Creative Visualization, or Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, or, before even getting into any witchy books, I was kind of looking at this idea that as a human, you could have you just weren't on the receiving end of everything. You could have a co-creative role in your life. Even though I was being brought up in a strict Catholic environment, there was a lot of discipline in my household where I grew up. Spare the rod, spoil the child, it was just that era. And I left home before I finished school. I got out by the time I was 15, and taking care of myself, and always magical, always witchy, but when it wasn't really appropriate. I mean, even like my interest in sort of the goth kind of scene for just a little while, I was just intrigued by the shadowed side of it.
Yes.
You know, and I was the archetype of blonde, blue eyes, as you say. And so to me, it was intriguing to be different. I was a weirdo, and that was good. And
well, you wouldn't have been a weirdo if we were growing up together.
No, it would have just been,
You're describing me in the natural world as a kid.
Yeah. And I think we're blessed as kids to have that time, outside of social media, and sit in front of a video game and stay quiet. I was told to be quiet. Little girls should be seen and not heard. Mm-hmm. But I would just go out in the bush and be quiet, or not, because I could make as much noise as I want out there.
Yeah.
And, and I think I think that's the foundations of my spiritual life became known from that experience, and also growing up in the Catholic faith, going to church. I knew I was drawn to the ritual and even the pageantry of it.
Yeah.
It was so intriguing. I loved prayers. I had my favorite ones that were usually about animals.
Yes.
Saint Francis of Assisi, or I chose as my confirmation name Saint Cecilia, patron saint of music. To me, the arts, nature, and that's all. Witchcraft is a craft. So we're intrinsically kind of crafty. It's creative. We're not just some people can be more technical. I've been really getting into sacred geometry lately, and using that, like drawing different, like flower of life, or different geometric symbols that, what's the word? Systems, to just keep creating and finding shapes within things and this and that. It's like, I find that very meditative. But really, you see those patterns and shapes in nature.
Yes.
Yes. All the time. You can look at a cauliflower dissected, and it's got the Fibonacci spiral in it. I mean, it's,
it's amazing.
It's amazing. So that's all witchy, believe it or not. It really is. Do. And I think that, so that's how it kind of made sense to me. And obviously I grew up watching Bewitched, and I loved Enid Blyton's books, Far Away, Magic Faraway Tree and everything.
Yes,
that was all. Yeah, and that was all to think, wow, there's something us humans can do that is exciting and creative, and then when you get into your teen years and you've got all your, your conflict of self and all of that stuff going on, and your body's waking up and hormones are running rampant and all the things, I still found solace and peace in the bush, until the day came that I talked about this in my autobiography, in The Naked Witch, that came out in 2017, but until a boy followed me in the bush, and then more than one boy followed me into the bush, and I knew I wasn't safe there anymore. But that's not because of the bush. That was because of I was coming into puberty and all the things that happened.
That was because of the boys, not because of the bush, not because of you.
No, exactly. It was because of the boys, and because of the way... and the way they were raised to think a certain way about women, and I wasn't safe anymore. So, and around then is when I left home anyway.
So the Catholicism, which runs very, very deep in anyone that's been raised in it, and the mass consciousness and the history of it, What aspects, if any at all, did you sort of have to unravel for your expansiveness to keep moving into
The
being the
emphasis
witch?
on guilt and pain and subjugation of women. And I even tried in my teens to get into Satanism. I thought, oh, well, the obvious knee-jerk reaction to Christianity would be Satanism. And so I found the Satanic Bible at the Padstow Library with my adult library lending card that I pinched from my parents because I was a voracious reader. But yeah, I found the Satanic Bible by Antoine LaVey there. And that, whatever that book is, it's a bit whatever. But it's like very much knee-jerk reaction to Christianity. But I found too much similar in there to Christianity that I didn't relate to it either.
Yeah.
So I really, when the idea of goddess spirituality evolved in the 80s, where you could actually read about it, and also I had access to, books that were about different cultures, and I could look at the different, archaic goddesses and go, I relate to this. This is, and I always loved the Mary, the Mother of God. Like I always was fascinated by her, and I wanted to be a nun. I was always like amazed with the idea that the female could be divine.
Yes.
It felt very relatable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, but the Catholic Church and even my very, very brief foray into trying to, am I a Satanist? No, I'm really not. It was because women weren't venerated or celebrated. And it was when I sort of looked at older cultures, the Romans, the Greeks, and started to understand about other deities that existed before Christianity was a dominant, presence in the Western world anyway.
I feel like looking even into Satanism and things, because you're talking something that's very reflective of how I grew up. And very similar, because the shamanic path, or my shamanic path, because there are quite a few, is very, again, nature orientated, as well as the divinity in the masculine and the feminine. But I feel like, and I've spoken to other women, one, they grew up feeling like they were the lone wolf, the only one that was being like that. Like we weren't all growing up together. Do you know what I mean?
No,
The pack and the community wasn't found yet. But every one of us had an exploration into something darker, but more out of a curiosity.
Yeah. Even just to know what you're not.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because you're told, well, if you're not this, you're that. So when, all right, well, I'll try that. Well, I'm not that either. I'm something else, and that's when my first book on like witchcraft outside of the myth and the fear and the suspicion and the Hollywood stereotypes was Lie Warren Clark's Wave the Goddess. It was a little purple book that I found in a bookshop in Byron Bay. And it was, I think she self-published it, or it was an independent publisher, but I remember there were some typos and things in it. And strange formatting choices, which I look back now that I hadn't written a book myself then, but I was already picking up this stuff. Yeah. But the information in it was so interesting, and it was very much structured on the Gardnerian approach to Wicca, which is also kind of a little bit masculine oriented, and how a male would view things have to be organized a certain way and done this way. And this is how the goddess is venerated, and, but I started to think, oh, this is getting closer. And then really in the end, I found through the late 80s, early 90s, and my life through the 90s when I was in Def FX and we were touring all the time, we were a popular band, and, all the things, my song lyrics were witchy and magical, absolutely. And my personal life off stage was, and some of the choices I made, how I dressed on stage were, there's the Aria Insta page just did an Aria throwback, flashback thing to the year that the Def FX performed on the stage. It was the same year that Excess did, and we sang, what song did we sing? No Time for Nowhere, yeah. And I'm wearing this giant pentagram, which I remember I bought. It was you couldn't buy one easily. It was a big one made from wire, like on a leather shoelace tied around my neck, hairy armpits, and I'm just going wild on stage, and I'm going, wow, I never openly talked about it, but I was wearing this big stamp, this 5-pointed star.
It's a bit like the coming out,
but over
isn't
time
it?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We say coming out of the broom closet, you know.
Coming out of the broom closet. Love it. So someone listening, because I know that this is growing now, and with TikTok and
Oh, it's
social
so
media,
huge. Yeah, it's so
you know,
huge.
if someone's feeling a bit confused about, being a witch, witchcraft, and what it means, what would you say exactly it's
You know
about?
what jumps into my head though? I could say my spiel, which I've said for the last 30 years, which is witches honor nature is sacred. We recognize a goddess as well as a god, and we do spells and rituals to help and heal ourselves and others. Ba-ding. That's
Yeah,
that's
but
that's the little
let's
thing.
go into the
But I
root
could but I
system
could
of it.
also say, if you want to know, just watch the latest promo of Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman talking about practical magic too, and why it's time, and because witchcraft is about women power and women being strong and coming together in the
Yeah.
sisterhood, and spells are to help and change your lives for the better and bring people together and heal the planet. I mean, it's
Yes.
like, just watch. I just saw it today, Kat, because I was doom scrolling this morning a bit on Instagram. I'm doing my socials because I've got to keep my algorithm. I've got to stay pre-current in the algorithm so that people know my books are out there and all the things. I used to just do a magazine interview or TV show. Now it's all, it's like social media all the way. And I'm a one-woman team putting it all together and
Yeah,
doing it all.
I
But
understand.
it's like, that popped up today, and I just went, oh, this is awesome. Like, it's kind of hilarious and great. And I was around when the first Practical Magic came out, and I remember my publicist at the time was, oh, we've got to get you on the junket. We've got to get you doing all this because if you're bundled up with that, and we can sell you and sell more books. And I was on a TV show, I think at the time in America. I was living in Los Angeles, and it's all good, like I think I was, or maybe it was even before then, I don't know, but all the things. There's always that hook to sell. Oh, Witchcraft is popular again. Oh, there's this massive movie. Nicole Kidman, Sandra Bullock, they're saying witches are cool and it's good to be a witch. But that's the thing. They are. And I've been watching them on interviews on like CBS morning show, whatever, in America. I was in America talking about witchcraft when my first book came out in 2000.
Yeah.
There, or 2001, and I was constantly asked, are you a Satanist? Do you worship the devil? Are you a good witch or a bad witch? I even did a whole hour with Tyra Banks on her Tyra's show, which was a massive show on the Oprah channel, and it's still partnered us up. It positioned me as the blonde, friendly good witch, and then had my friends Vicky and her partner as the bad witches, the black witches, because they looked more gothic and dark, and they were the owners of Pan Pipes, dear friends, like. And it was still having to have that polarity, that kind of, well, this is this, but there's also this. And now I'm watching this whole press junket for this film, and it's women empowerment. It's sisters coming together. We do spells and rituals where Sandra Bullock says, I'm a little bit witchy. Now it's okay to say I'm witchy. She won't say I'm a witch, but she'll say I'm witchy. And my friends know I'm witchy. And I'm just watching this going, it's amazing. It's incredible. It's amazing because when you
you were paving a way.
Well, maybe I was. I mean, I was, and there were others like me. Phyllis Curott, who Book of Shadows. She's a lawyer out of New York, dear friend. Her Book of Shadows was massive. It was, that's Book of Shadows is kind of what we would call our traditional record of work, especially if you're in a coven. The Book of Shadows is the record of everything you've done and coven knowledge, and you're meant to copy it out by hand when you're initiated and all these things. Which is, more of a traditional thing. But now she called her Book of Shadows, and was about a New York witch starting a coven in New York, and it's massive. Like, there's Lucy Cavendish, who I've known forever, who was the editor of Australian Women's Forum and started writing books about witchcraft and magic. And she's a very dear friend. She's out there in the front line too. And she started Witchcraft magazine in Australia. I mean, and I'm just like, there are tons of us. And even before my era, there was Sybil Leek, there was Maxine Sanders going back, however, I think now what's happened is, because I always wondered, like, why am I doing this back then? Because the misconception about me was that I came out as a public witch to get acclaim and fame. I lost more jobs saying I was a witch than I got.
Why did you? What was the driving force?
Well, because one job I was up for was being a host of a nature documentary. It was pretty massive, but when they found out I was a witch and I'd written a book about witchcraft, couldn't employ me. That was in America. My
Yeah.
agent told me. In the end, the only big show I got in America that put me on billboards all over the country and in Times Square and on bus stops everywhere was a show where I played a witch. That was, the
Yeah.
groundbreaking Mad Mad House, which people say now was just this really groundbreaking show that was a reality show about normal people having to live with alts, people who were alternatives. So there was the witch, that was me, and I was
Yeah.
kind of the host. There was Ear Tashia, the voodoo priestess, Art the modern primitive, Avocado, who's a naturist, he was naked all the time, and Don the vampire. And we were the 5 alts. And the 20 or 10 to 15 contestants, whatever it was, had to compete in a series of challenges that we set to learn about our paths. And those that impressed us the most was to being most open-minded and willing to explore other realities other than their own and be respectful was the winner.
Imagine
And
if that came out now, Fiona. It
it
would be
would be so timely, it'd be massive. Back then it was considered, a freak show. And I
Yeah.
even had the producers come to me because I was the most experienced working in TV, and that's why they were paying me more to be on this thing and, and run the show a bit. They said, everyone's getting along too well. We need you to stir up some drama because we can't use this television. It's everyone's just getting along and being too nice.
Yeah.
This is very early days of reality TV back in like 2004, I think we filmed. The only other reality TV that was big at the time was Survivor. And we were one of the very first. And they filmed thousands of hours and cut together all sorts of crazy storylines. And,
What was
and
the
I just,
moment? Sorry. What
Yeah,
was
go
the
on.
moment when you felt I now have to put a voice to this truth of who I am, and how I live?
well, I would offer that I just let the universe lead the way. I look back now and I go, clearly I was meant to do something. And I kind of didn't know what that would be.
Yeah.
I didn't have an agenda to be famous as a witch. I just but it kind of happened. But I had come from being in a band and hosting. I'd interviewed Britney Spears, Tom Jones. I was the music host for a really big television show in Australia. I'd done all this mainstream job in Australia, but then going to America, all of a sudden, that's where I was marginalized as the witch and had to play myself in that role.
Mhm.
So looking back, I wasn't aware really of what was going to happen because I was finding my way. But I remember when I was like, I guess 21 or maybe 22, very early days of my craft. And I was talking to someone who I would call an elder and a mentor at that time. And he said, one day you'll be called to teach this if you stick with it. And I said, really? He goes, yes, that's where, if those of us on the path, if we're called to the path, we will be called to teach it one day. So, learn your stuff and do it as good as you can. And I was like, really? And it was when I was gifted a tarot deck and told that divination was my gift. And I still read with that same deck 40 years later.
And you've got a deck I saw today out. And by the way,
I've created oracle decks. Yeah. Oh, there's the book. Isn't it beautiful?
Book,
yeah, there's an oracle that
I felt
goes with
really
it,
drawn to getting it. And the first thing is, it feels like my business card. It's got that feel good, don't want to let it go. The pages, my eldest daughter,
green
Ayla, was
embossed,
over,
beautiful,
and
glowing.
she's just like, I got to go buy one. I said, no, darling, I've got this so I can get to know Fiona, and then I'll just give it to you, And then she realized
there's a
she'd already
companion oracle with it too. So it's like, it's the design of it in the beautiful glossy green and the beautiful tactile hardcover and the beautiful illustrations. My publishers have kicked it out of the park. And then it's actually the second book in a trilogy. There's a book that came out last year called Lost Book of Spells, which is my first really big spell book. It's like, I've written 18 books actually. So Lost Book of Spells is a similar design, beautiful gold foil edging, tactile hardcover, gorgeous illustrations and design. And then I've just done my contract for the third book in this trilogy that will be released in January 2028. I've got to start writing it soon.
It is presented as something incredibly sacred. It just doesn't feel like a book. Oh, I've just bought a book to read. And I knew that the minute I saw it, went, okay, I'm going to grab this. And the feeling, the pages, the way that it's laid out, the artwork, it feels like a sacred keepsake, in all honesty.
Thank you.
More than just,
I feel very
let's
blessed
have a read.
Well, I feel very blessed that the book has like my life's experiences in it, as well as such a beautiful design, which is all for Rockpool's, my publisher's design team, Sarah and Lisa and everyone, because they're just amazing. And I can show you something. I'm going to step off camera
Yes,
for
go
1
on.
second,
Yeah.
because the one thing I brought with me, because I couldn't carry a lot of things as I'm currently in Bali, is this is the matching oracle. You can see it's
Oh,
also a beautiful
beautiful.
glowing green Coven oracle, and it's
Yeah.
it kind of complements the content of the book. They can exist independently of each other, but you can see the beautiful
Oh,
green foil
stunning.
edging and the beautiful matte, and then the incredible art is actually in black and white. So it's
Yeah.
very beautiful for introspection and meditation. And the cards are designed to be read in a group. You can read them individually, but also in a group. Let's pull a card right now and see what we get.
Okay.
I'm going to
I
shuffle.
have got
You
so
tell
many
me.
decks of oracle cards since I was 25 to now, but I'm going to have to get this one and bring it
This one
into
as
my
well.
ceremony, full moon ceremonies.
Well, I'm honoured if you would. And if you tell me when to stop shuffling, I'll pull the card on the top
Now.
and use that as, okay, as the one we read.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful. Circle choice, identity, respect, and embodiment. So I think that's kind of what we're talking about.
We are. That is beautiful.
And it's one of the things to welcome in circle when we gather in community, especially as women, but women and men, whatever identity these days, but particularly women, when we come together in a circle. What I really love doing so much work with sacred geometry now is the circle is the infinite of everything. I used to always say that everything and nothing, the circle is everything and it is nothing, it's,
Yes.
but in science, it is like the form that gives birth to everything. So, and in sacred geometry, like I love drawing the flower of life. It's just circle and circle and circle and circle and circle. And
I used to
it's
do
just you
that
add
all
up
the
all
time
these circles.
as a girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so meditative, and that kind of stimulates something outside of the construct of your practical brain, where you awaken to just a knowledge that doesn't need words to describe it. It's just a feeling. I feel like blissfully happy after I spend 2 hours drawing different aspects of sacred geometry. I just have this, even someone who's in the course that I'm in, they looked at me and they said, "You just look so happy." And he said, "You're glowing." And I said, it's just so beautiful, and the universe is so beautiful and so amazing. It's this complete awakened inner child, how I used to feel out in the bush before I had a word to describe it, before I had anyone telling me it was good and bad, before I had anyone attaching some kind of hormonal relevance to me being a female and a witch, whatever. It was like, it's just fucking beautiful. Everything. Yeah. It's amazing.
What I love
and that's what circle choice means too.
Yeah, that is beautiful. What I really like about that deck too is there are so many decks out now, but they're so orientated towards women and they look incredibly feminine that no men really want to pick it up and work with it. This looks like a deck that's got all its beauty with it, but
men are even depicted on the cards too. Yeah. And I love that you picked that up, because my first few decks that I did, or my first 2 decks that I did, because my publisher has kindly given me the opportunity to create 5 oracles now. I was very attached to only women being depicted, and I've got my own trauma experiences and this and that I've been working through, that what I create inevitably is some kind of cathartic, release of something, And,
yes.
But this one and Lost Oracle, last year's oracle I did, have men depicted in them as well, and men depicted as kind, wise, supportive entities, presences. Yes. The archetypal Lord of the Forest that is the guardian and the keeper of safety and sanctity, and the presence that you can trust and feel safe with. That's a big journey for me.
Beautiful.
And so the cards have aspects of that celebrate the divine masculine. That's a big step for me right now.
That is
to be
beautiful.
able to do that.
Yeah, I can feel you moving into that and embracing the divine masculine energy within us, as well, and bringing that union back into some sort of harmonic resonance within ourselves, so it's
Absolutely.
reflected
Yeah.
back to us.
Yes. It's like
Yeah.
so it can be like a collaboration rather than a impact
Competition
or a
yeah.
competition, just collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So does music still play a part in your life? And if so, does music play a part within your witchcraft?
I'm not currently performing music, though I did burst into song at one of the book events, one of the last ones. It was like about 100 people, I don't know. And there's this gorgeous 10-year-old, I'd say she's about 10, and she's asked a question in the Q&A, and she puts her hand up. She's with her mum and her brother, and they're both, the brother and the sister, are young, and puts her hand up and she says, "What was it like singing in a band?" And I was sitting in the chair, and I think I was wearing what I got on, this lovely Camilla caftan. And I was like, I said, "You want to know?" And I stood up and I went, "Turn it up." And I started singing.
Oh, how fantastic.
In the library, of course.
How fantastic.
So, yeah,
Nothing like
I mean,
spontaneity.
music's always inside me, and I love singing and I love performing. However, right now I'm not doing it in any measured or structured way. And I don't, in my own ceremony or ritual, I have not sung. I did a lot of ceremony and ritual offerings to groups of people on this recent book tour that I've just finished for Coven, where witches gather, for the witch curious, the magically minded, and the witches, and I spoke things rather than sang them, which I thought was interesting that I chose to do that, because I've sung before, but this time I thought it aligned to speak and so that's kind of what happened.
So you've spoken also about friends that are involved in witchcraft, and a lawyer and people that are considered sort of significance in leadership in their professions. How does witchcraft serve those in high pressure roles?
Well, I'd have to offer, before I even talk about them, is like how it worked for me as a captain, most requested captain of the airline I flew for. I mean, it was an obvious upgrade from a broomstick to an airplane. I got my commercial ratings a lot more comfortable, fit more people on a plane, climate controlled, all the things. But I fit a lot more animals on a plane than a broomstick too. But I got my commercial ratings in 2016. So I'd been flying since 2004 as private pilot. And then I got my commercial ratings in 2016. Yeah, so it was fine. Yeah, for a while, just privately and all the things. And then working as a pilot officially was 2016 until 2020 because of COVID.
Yes.
And I was living in the Caribbean, and all my flight training was done in Bakersfield, Los Angeles, California. So I learned to fly in complex airspace, and then I worked as a pilot in complex international Caribbean airspace over water and all the things. So, but I remember because I was still writing books about witchcraft, and I was still me, like whatever. Yeah. And which is what I am. It's not what I do. So inevitably it's going to come up. But I remember sitting on my company check ride, my Part 135 check ride with my boss, Odell, in the right seat. I'm flying the plane from the left seat, and it's my check ride. If I pass this, I got a job with this company. And he's sitting there, he's a big man, and he's looking at me. I'm trying to sit up there but I'm holding short of the runway, waiting for clearance to take off. And it's supposed to be sterile cockpit, not having general conversation. That's pretty standard until you reach cruise, and then you can chat about anything. But sterile cockpit means when you're prepping to take off and you're holding short and you're about to take off, you're not chatting about the weather. Certainly not asking me or saying, "So, Fiona, I was looking at Facebook and I saw something and you call yourself a witch?" And I just was like, "Oh." I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he goes, "Well, I don't care what you call yourself as long as you bring the plane back safely and you and I safely, you don't break anything, and we really need someone to work for us, so don't screw this up." And I was like, "Okay, sir." And, and then
which is a used to flying, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I should have said that. But yeah, I didn't. I was just like, trying to remember my checklists and everything, because I had to mentally memorize them all and demonstrate that I could do them or whatever. But I passed, I got the job, and I worked for that airline for about a year before going to another airline. And then yeah, I was the most requested captain for my airline when my career, as it turned out, finished because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then I tried to get back into flying for work, and it didn't land, it didn't anchor. But I pivoted, and I found that I was in this position and received a calling to take women traveling, particularly initially to Egypt.
Yeah.
And so I created Meet Yourself in Egypt, these nourishing spiritual adventures for women, which I'm now in my third year of offering. I have a group of ladies in October coming to Egypt. I'm in Bali now as we're chatting, because I've got ladies arriving next week for Meet Yourself in Bali. And then I've got Meet Yourself in Transylvania in September. So from flying people around in airplanes, I'm now facilitating international travel for people in other ways.
What
and
an
having
eclectic life.
I know, I didn't expect to be doing this. I didn't expect to become a spokesperson for Witchcraft. I didn't expect to become, facilitating these women's expansions, as I call them, not retreats, because we're not retreating, we're expanding.
Yeah.
And I'm still published. And I mean, the last tour was massive. The tour I just did of East Coast Australia was just so just heart filling, because every event was sold out. The response and the enthusiasm and the generosity of people's spirits, how they came and offered their energy in such a beautiful, open way. It was really amazing. I've actually got a lovely book just over there that I brought with me, where I asked everyone who attended to sign. I said, if I sign your book, you sign mine. And I've got a book full of beautiful messages. And
beautiful.
Yeah, it's just, it was really, really, really amazing. So I mean, it was kind of hard to accept that maybe I wouldn't be flying planes for a job anymore. And I've had some strange health stuff happen the last year and a half, which I'm learning through, which has been really interesting. My body just stopped working. So it was like the girl that could do everything now is in a wheelchair last year. And I've come a long way, and I'm a lot healthier in the sense of this body is functioning, and there's a whole lot of stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, I think I'd offer in closing of all this long-winded general chit chat is like that. I found something when my brother and sister-in-law and I were going through stuff at my mum's place, because mum's got Alzheimer's, and we take care of mum and everything.
Yes.
So and dad passed a few years ago. So it's, but we were going through things that were in storage there that we didn't know were there. And I found just this big kind of cushion, whatever they're called, Ottoman thing, wherever there's a lid. And, there was just a million cards and things from our childhood, messages we'd written, mum and dad. And then there was one that I'd written myself, that I'd typed this letter. And it was, I'd done it when I was 18. It was dated and signed. And it said what I intended to be. And it said I was going to, change the world. Actually, you know what? Wait 1 second. I have it. You'll get the scoop, because no one's heard about this. It's in this actual little notebook I have.
How beautiful.
I'm going to read you what I wrote. It's like, my ambitions, written by Fiona Horne on the 30th of April, 1985. Okay. This was in mum's thing. I'll just read a little bit of it. My ambitions are to become immortal through music and literature. Just before I was in a band, before I'd written a book. I write all this wild stuff here. After the nuclear war, when I'm the only survivor, I will be standing on a mountaintop with my guitar in my hand, surveying the chaos and destruction surrounding me. When a passing alien vehicle will whisk me up to them and demand me to play Earth music, I will plug into their intercom and emit sounds of earthly passion depicting our illustrious world as it once was, and everyone aboard the alien ship will come running, crowing their praise and demanding more, and I will give it to them. And then we'll take me on a tour of the universe. And I'll be raised to the highest accolades of intergalactic stardom, to be idolized and worshipped for all eternity. I mean, I don't know where I was going with that. But more significantly was that first line. My ambitions are to become immortal through music and literature. And the last line, I intend to go down in history as the woman who proved nothing is impossible.
Wow.
So I think they're the beginning, the first line and the last line. I learnt that when I was doing a lot of journalism back in the day, that people only read the first line and the last line. So make them the summation of everything.
Fiona, that line, when you spoke about, the aliens and the music, but it has very much the energy of what you've been doing throughout your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
And
I
the
don't think I
aliens
need
is like,
I don't need the worship for all eternity necessarily, but the alien stuff is interesting. And I write here, on a more mortal note, my
yeah,
short-term ambitions are fairly simple. I plan to achieve a high matriculation standard next year, thus becoming eligible to apply for a Bachelor of Arts in journalism. Once I've gained entrance, I will defer it for 1 year while I concentrate on traveling and touring with my band. During this time, I hope to explore some of the far continents and touch a few people's souls with my music. Then I plan to settle down and become immersed in achieving a Bachelor of Arts in journalism. Ultimate long plans are to become a journalist and eventually editor of my own publication. This I hope to achieve within the next 8 or 9 years. It's, but I did all that, but I left school. I didn't finish school. I just got out, and I still wrote 18 books. I still became a commercial pilot, and like yes, I got a world record in skydiving, and I taught yoga for years and fire dance to save money to go to flight school, and here I am. I've been published nearly half my life. Like in 2028, it'll be 30 years since I've been published, and that will be half my life.
and making a massive difference in the lives of people reading those books. Yeah.
That's the thing. That was the incredible thing on this tour, was like how many people came and said, your book changed my life when I was a teenager. I've now given that book to my daughter or my son. To have that generational connection. And I haven't had children, human children. I say I've got furry kids, the rescue animals. I'm pretty active in animal rescue and supporting displaced animals. And then my books and cards and songs, that they feel like children. You put them out in the world and see what they do.
Well, you've created them, haven't you? You've created and birthed
I
them
just
into
didn't
the
have
world.
another human baby through this body,
Yeah.
So it's it's just and I'm not stopping. There's still more to go. I thought I was dying last year. I was very sick, and I thought maybe it was time, and I was ready. I didn't want, the pain was excruciating. It was like I was in an Iron Maiden, like metal with spikes, and I just couldn't move. I was completely frozen. I had a condition called PMR, polymyelitis rheumatism, which is commonly diagnosed in women over 50 after long periods of chronic stress. That's how it's just, and it's often misdiagnosed, and it was in me. And then now I've got this weird form of seronegative rheumatoid arthritis, which is really bizarre because seronegative means no markers in my blood, no obvious reason, yet I present with these symptoms that are partial paralysis and pain. And so I don't know, I think it's my body just going, all right, you were able to do everything everywhere all the time. So I'm going to take that away, and you're going to find another way. And I just feel like I'm having another life experience. I've gone from being able to do everything to, like I said, being in a wheelchair and in insane pain for 2 months last year. And now I'm coming out of that. And I've had a full hip replacement 6 months ago because that was part of the disease, was pretty massive attack on my joints.
Shamanically, Fiona, as well, because we have overlaid lifetimes. They're not past, they're not future, everything's all overlaid. So there's a lot of stuff that's also coming through that. So I feel like there's been some lifetime overlays that are also playing out through your body because everything's multi-layered.
You're multi-layered,
Yeah. So if ever you find yourself in Perth, come and have a session.
I was over in beautiful Western, thank you. I was over in beautiful Western Australia through the COVID years, as it turned out. I don't talk about that time too much, but I did do a lot of music again there. I did a band called Sea Witch, and then a duo called Spiff and Fifi, and it was extraordinary to be in Western Australia during those COVID years. It was the sanctuary because it was not impacted by the dominant dialogue happening around the rest of the world for the most part. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world. I mean, it's just so amazing over there. So yeah, I'd love to get back to Perth. It was a real interesting journey over there, very beautiful and amazing, and also extremely difficult situation that happened, and not in the least being the whole COVID thing, but but just, some other weird stuff and another part of life's journey. So that's why I'm not still there. But I went from there to Egypt in 2023. And that's when in the beginning of 2023, that's when I had the calling from the ancient goddess in a temple that
Beautiful.
said, you got to bring women to Egypt, teach them or tell them, let them understand that the gods are not to be demanded of. We are to be venerated, worshipped, and named.
Yes.
Even if you say it in English, name us, and we will come and decide what it is that you need. And
I did
never
read
call,
that. I
never
read that
call
in your
on
book.
us. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it was really clear that this female goddess said this very clearly in English, so I could understand her. And then she said, bring the women here and take them to these places. And it was like a map of Egypt just opened in my head. Like I'd been there, like lived there forever, and I just knew where everything was. Like it was just like that. Egypt seemed very small and very easy inside my brain. I just knew it, and it still does. It just feels so familiar. And then she said, and then you got to move here. So I did all that in 2023. I just did what she told me to do. There was no business plan to do women's travel experiences. There was nothing. I just did what she told me to do.
It's just the surrender and the trust, isn't it? Surrender and let yourself.
And it worked. I've been living in Egypt most of the last few years. I just, when my body shifted in this massive way last year, I adjusted. I don't really live anywhere except where my head is at the end of the day. When people say, where do you live? I go, I don't know where my head is laying at the end of the day. Right now, it's this little villa in Bali. But I'll be back in Egypt this year, and I have a lot of like ongoing animal rescue efforts there. That I have a Patreon page that people can access through my website, fionahorne.com. And if they become a member of my Patreon, just pretty simple, you just sign up, and it's like $5 a month in Australia, $3 US, $5 Australian roughly. And I pull cards every Sunday, Self-Care Sunday, and I do other things, read my books. So there's audio versions of my books and things like that. But 100% of that money goes to my animal rescue efforts in Egypt that I'm still going on. So I don't know. I just, I'm sure there's more adventures to come, and I'm in a lot less pain now, and I can function, I can walk, I can, so whatever layers of multiple realities going through.
Well, that is good to hear that you're coming out the other side, and we will put your website at the bottom of the description for the episode.
Thank you. Yeah, and then it's easy to find my socials and everything through there, and more information about my books. And if you want to travel with me, it's all there. I build my website myself. It's an absolute labor of love, and I'm excited and grateful when people go there and explore it. But it's funny. I think that when I think about life and what's going on, and I know there's more coming, and I think what I really enjoyed about getting so sick last year, like it was the pain it's just next level. And to be paralyzed where you literally can't move your arms or close your jaw or turn your head, and until about 2 PM, and then the symptoms would abate a bit and I could get a bit of movement. And then to go on this really heavy medications, to have to step into the world of pharmaceuticals, because I asked my body, what do you need? And it said, I need your attention. And I gave it a little bit, but then with natural stuff and this and that, and then I kept going even harder, more full on, and helping the animals and doing everything full on. And then it totally packed it in. And I said, what do you need now? And it said, I need help. And the help came through a specialist and mainstream medicine, and
which has its place. And I love that you're asking your body. You're not bringing judgments and beliefs. You're saying, what do you need?
What
tell
do you
me
need?
What it is.
And I put my hand on my heart and I said, what do you need? And it told me. And I trusted that. And that's, and so I've been on mainstream medicine for a while now. And it one of the ways my situation is, what was happening with my body was diagnosed, was because I responded so quickly to mainstream medicine. Truckloads of steroids, huge amount, never had them in my life. Bang. Oh my gosh, I can move, oh my gosh, the pain's gone. Like that was how they could kind of determine where I was going. Because I was misdiagnosed, told as a woman post-menopause that it was all in my head, and maybe I needed antidepressants, and I've been sober in a program for 14 years. I'm like, fuck that. I'm not going to take medication. I'll go and meditate, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I actually this body needed help. And it's born in this timeline with this access to this stuff, you know? So, and it has worked. So I'm on a journey now to come away from the medication, and I've tried, yet my body still needs a bit of help. So I'm doing it all.
But I love,
now.
Fiona, that you've shared it, because so many people get involved in this sort of spiritual path or whatever pathway it is, and they become very anti. And I'm very much a foot in both worlds. And I'm like that. I'm like, I'll ask my body, you know, I'll ask when my children were born, I'll ask their soul. I'll ask. So I can get out of my own way. And then my role is to just listen.
Absolutely. My favorite saying, get out of your own way. Yeah. And then the action arrives. Like, you know, the specialist all of a sudden who is booked out for a year and a half can see you next week.
Yes.
And you get the medication, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can move. Like, like the pain is gone, most of it, you know, unbelievable. So, yeah, as a sober person too, like I don't like, my program is not to just take opioid based pain medication and things like that.
Yeah.
But I did, because it was the only way. I didn't even feel anything from it other than it abated to a degree. There's the insane pain in my hip that was just next level. I had pain through everything, like even touching, even a sheet on me was like, so painful. You know, anything would take 20 minutes to try and just move a sheet if I was alone in the bed. It was insane. Such a shift.
Pain like that is debilitating. I've had pain.
Obliterating, debilitating. Like, there's a video of me walking like this, like just it's not alive. Like, I mean, but and I'm told I'm depressed and postmenopausal at the time. You know, anyway, but yeah, then
you've just got to keep asking questions, don't you, Fiona, and keep seeking out.
Yeah, and if you're getting all this weird medication and it's just making you feel worse, then have the courage to say this isn't working, and not just blindly take it. And anyway, and then when you ask for the help, and you even with, you know, the program I'm in, I'm prescribed something, I take it, it helps, I can function, to get me to the point that because I needed to take my ladies through Egypt, like on a cane, pre-hip replacement. I couldn't cancel it. I had 16 ladies.
Yeah.
And I made it, it happened. And then as the second it finished, I was in Australia having surgery and no more pain meds, you know, like.
Well, I'm very happy to hear that you're coming out the other side, that you've communed with your body and asked what is needed.
You know, there's one more thing, Kay, I feel like it's appropriate to say is, because I didn't really hit it properly, but before was the reason I'm so happy and grateful. I got so sick at the age of 58, 59, when you're told as a woman that it's all downhill now, you know, like grow old, get sick, die expensively, you know, like it was, I got really sick and then I got really well. And I did it as I'm turning 60 this year. So, like, I know that people's journeys and different stages of their health and things, it's all what it is, you know. I'm just glad that I offered an opportunity to live by example in my own life, as far as Fiona goes, observing it all, as well as that you can get really sick and you can get better, you know, and it's not all over just because we're 60 or 70 or 80, or it's not over. And even when we die, it's not over. It's just the beginning of something else, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I love hearing stuff like that, because I'm 61 and I've still got all my aspirations and doing everything that I'm doing. And it's just a number.
And I love the freedom now too, that we're kind of off the biological clock, and you don't feel that innate drive to have to procreate or have to validate your, if you're heterosexual, for example, validate your value based on how a man is valuing you or involved in your life in some way. You're just free.
Yeah.
And I love it. I feel so grateful to just be free and enjoy my life. Even if it's difficult and painful, I still get to do it and have it and be it. And as a sober woman, I don't automatically reach for a glass of wine. I woke up this morning feeling a bit weird. Some stuff happened yesterday and I can go, okay, I can see why I would be feeling a bit sad or a bit confronted today. Or, in the old days, I'd pour myself what I call a magic mimosa, a giant glass of champagne with a splash of orange for vitamin C and colour, and drink all day. And that's why I'm in a program of sobriety. I'm just a garden variety alcoholic. It's in my bloodline, in this genetic bloodline. Mother's an alcoholic, on and on it goes.
Yep.
Grandparents, la la la. And I'm sober in a great program for 14 years. And so it's like I have this moment to sit and go, well, yeah, this is where I would have, sought escapism from this state of mind. Instead, I'm going to sit here and meditate and light my incense. And
helps you with that, the witchcraft? Yeah.
It does. Light my incense, hold some stones. There's one particular stone I have that I really love that came from Lightning Ridge when I was there on the last event of my tour, and just the land is so magical, and I brought the stone with me, and and sometimes it's just those moments of understanding that especially as a witch, that there's no definitive statement on anything. The only definitive statement on anything is that everything can change. I remember my first sponsor said to me, Fiona, everything good and bad has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
And so I'll just trust it, And I think with witchcraft, how it's just in every facet. It's not I think people who are new to it or witch curious and will be really drawn to the spells and the romanticism of it and that's beautiful and important. There's a point where you just are it all the time.
Yeah.
It just is.
It's who you are and how you live. And I love, get the book. It's so beautiful. It is easy to read. And look how thick it is. You're covering everything from sexuality to just everything, but in a very digestible, grounded, heart-orientated way. I will keep reading it. There was no way I was going to get through it.
You said something about sexuality then. I think it's funny. It just jumped into my head that Lost Book of Spells was a massive bestseller last year in Australia because Big W picked it up and it was just massive, and it was my first spell book. I'd written so many books, but not an actual compendium of spells. And it was over 20 years it was from when I was on a radio show and people used to call in and ask for spells for all these sorts of daily concerns that you wouldn't consciously be able to make up,
Sure.
And that I had all these, I would prescribe spells and I still had them all written down. So I put it all into this big spell book, added more things and all the things. Anyway, Big W picked it up and it was very popular and it's still, published around the world. All my books are published around the world. I'm grateful that ripple is happening, And Coven, where witches gather, the beautiful green volume you have in your hand, the green and black, shiny, gorgeous thing it is. Big W flicked through it and saw that in the sexuality bit, there's a drawing of a bloke and you can just see this shading of his penis, maybe just a tiny bit, the suggestion that there's not nothing there. There's a hint of something, anatomy. And they said, we can't stock that in the store.
Really?
But there's boobs everywhere. And there's boobs everywhere all the time, and that's fine. But
there is in here as well, I think I just saw.
I know there is, No, that's what I mean. In that book, there's boobs in that book.
There is.
There's the hint of a male genitalia on one of the illustration pages of that sexuality section. And that's why they couldn't stock it. I just think it's funny.
It's interesting, isn't it? So when you're doing spells, and I don't want to take up, because I know you've been very generous with your time.
So I don't even know what time it is. For a spell to hold its potency, do they have to be really
feeling it? Because it can't just simply be light a candle, say some words.
I think that we sort of offer that there is this opportunity to raise power, and that is your intention. And the analogy I use with spell casting is the same now as it was 40 years ago, whatever, when I'm 30 years ago and I wrote my first book, or even when I was practicing myself, or talking to others who were doing it all those years ago. It's a bit like a cooking recipe. You assemble a bunch of items. Like let's just say chocolate cake doesn't exist until you get flour, egg, cacao, whatever ingredients. And you've got to have a bit of knowledge that when you put these particular ingredients together in this way, it's going to result in this, and so you put those ingredients together with your intention to create the cake, and then the chocolate cake specifically, and then you've got to inject the energy. So you pop it in the oven and up it rises and out comes the cake. So that energy, that heat is what we would in witchcraft say is our passion, you're raising power by chanting, drumming, or anything that makes you feel. You can even rub your hands together, feel the heat, place those hot hands on your heart, visualize your pulse, your heartbeat, sending out an electromagnetic energy out into the universe, capture that intention and send it out there and trust it will manifest. I mean, however you want to raise power is the ways of doing it. And however, I would never want anyone to not try something because they felt incomplete or not able. So sometimes there's just giving yourself permission to even just do something, and do it consistently.
Yes.
Like it's like when we get this beautiful scented candle from the shop or a gift, and we think, we'll burn that. We won't light that until it's the right day. We'll wait, we'll put that in the good lounge room and we'll light it at the important, and
even though it smells amazing, you won't light it and let the aroma fill the house.
So I think that what witchcraft does as well, our crafty aspect, is that every day is a good day to light a candle. Every day is a good day to burn some incense. Every day is a good day to observe something beautiful in nature and meditate upon it. Every day is a good day to feel that I could co-create my reality and, put my hand on my heart and say, Fiona, you are safe and you are loved. And what do you want to do today? And trust that thing. It's all part of the magic.
I also loved, so much of this is very much alignment with the shamanic path as well. But I also loved that you're saying you don't override someone else's will. You respect their soul path.
Do what you want, but don't hurt anyone. Do what you want, but don't interfere with another's free will. And as you send out, so returns threefold. And that can even impact if someone's unwell or suffering or in a terrible relationship or something, and you want to do a spell or a ritual to improve their situation. You would actually have to contemplate, is this their life journey? Are they meant to go through this? Or if they come to you and they say, it's like even in my program, if someone, I would never go up to someone and say, you should come to a meeting with me, you need help. If they came to me and said, because I'm living by example, and I'm a sober woman, and they say, I think I've got a problem with drinking, would you take me to a meeting? Or, I would be, absolutely, there's my 12th step right there, I've got to do it. I would never turn that down. It's just what you have to do. It's part of how the program works, works if you work it. So day at a time. So it's like, it's the same with spell casting and ritual. You just would never presume to impact upon someone else's free will. You could do the spell to maybe even on yourself to be a healing presence, so that when you're in the presence of the person suffering, you can, by virtue of that, innately
emanate an energy that might uplift them.
Emanate something, or even just be kind and supportive, but also not enable. That's the other thing. There are all these layers.
Well, it's like, who are we to judge someone else's soul path and what that soul has required for it?
Signed up for. Like when it, this is what you've signed up for,
And who are we to say that it's wrong?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that like there is the laws of witchcraft, which are those that we just said, are kind of there's actually a fourth law that I offered in my manifesto, The Art of Witch, that came out in 2019 after 30 years, I guess, of avowed practice, because from when I identified and knew I'm witch, and this is, So So there were the 3 laws, and then I offered the 4th law. So the 3 laws: do what you want, don't hurt anyone, don't interfere with another's free will. As you send out, so returns threefold. So it's, just remember that. And then there's the 4th, which is the moral law, which I offered, which was, good will always triumph over bad, but what is good cannot be determined by the individual witch.
Yes.
That was an odd one that came to me on meditation, but that's the 4th law.
It's powerful. That is powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can trust that, anchor yourself in that, then even the shadowed path, even me being in a wheelchair, feeling like I'm pierced by 1,000 spikes.
Yeah.
It's still good, because how I came out of it is this incredible reawakening of gratitude for pain-free life, and just the understanding that, it can feel like it's over, and then it's not. And then it's just layers upon layers and layers of comprehension and then I go and do this beautiful tour and have the opportunity to connect with people and all those things. And that's just my story.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Fiona, the podcast is called Inner Voice of Knowing.
Oh, there you go.
I always like to ask, do you feel you have an inner voice of knowing? And if so, how has it served you?
Well, it's everything we've been talking about.
It
really,
is everything we've been talking about.
It's that hand on heart when you're feeling unsteady. I did it this morning. Rather than reach for the mimosa, I put my hand on my heart and I said out loud, so I could feel the energy, the vibration in my chest of this sounding instrument, which is the body. Fiona, you are safe and you are loved. And the voice of my inner knowing knew what to do. And it was a day to get out of my own way and do some things that would stop me dwelling in this strange undertow of emotional whatever's that was kind of around, and then feel clear and conscious and grateful and willing, willing to just show up and live this life because I'm here doing it. And the inner voice of knowing is that. It's like trusting that. And the inner voice of knowing is not your ego. I've written about it in a couple of books, particularly in Art of Witch. It's like you're born and you have an ego, and that's important because certainly if you talk about linear time frame, your teens, your 20s, even your up to your mid-30s, it's how you forge your identity and the parameters of your existence, and ego is useful in that sense. But after, like, in linear years, I guess, based on it's a generalization, but for the most part, mid-30s onwards, ego starts to become very destructive and very not a tool of survival, but a tool of self-destruction. And that's when I learned that ego is time to get out of your own way, and that means get out of the way of the ego and then just open up to the experience that the universe would have you have. And that's
allowing it to evolve. As we evolve, allowing it to evolve,
and not the ego itself can become it's that voice in your head that isn't your inner knowing. It's the one, like people say, oh, aren't you worried as a witch someone might hex you or something? I already know the most powerful hex. I already do. It's the one everyone casts on themselves and the way they speak to themselves inside their own head. That's not the inner knowing. That's the ego. The inner knowing is the hand on heart, the breath, and the trust. And just taking that first answer that comes, because it's always the right one.
Fiona, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Kay.
And for living and breathing what you share, what you impart, what you write about, what you teach, and for paving the way for so many others to come into their power, to find community amongst other people, and a place of belonging within themselves. And I'm so glad that you're on the other side of extreme pain and able to be back in this place, renewed with a new depth of gratitude, and still bringing this beautiful light, like what's flowing behind you, out into the world and into Mother Earth and into people's lives. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Kay. Could we do like a postscript really quickly? May I ask you a question?
Yes.
How would you contrast shamanism and witchcraft based on, you've just heard all this stuff from me and you're a shaman, and I feel like I just want to ask it all back to you.
Sure.
So how would you, in our postscript?
I have people that ask me questions. I love it. That's really interesting. And that's why when I started your book, because I really wanted to go, okay, so, where is this woman coming from? Because you see lots of people saying I'm a witch and they're doing things, and I'm like, oh, that's really disjointed from me. Where you're coming from with what I have read and with what you've talked about, Fiona, is very in alignment with a shamanic path. So I'm very connected, but for me as a shaman, I'm very connected, and I was born with a knowing. I was born and I knew at the age of 5 I'd chosen to be here. I used to pray to God when my mother, we were Church of England, she'd tuck me in and we'd bless the whole family and do the Lord's Prayer. And but I always felt a resonance with the words and the frequency of the Lord's Prayer. And she'd close the door and then I'd go, oh God, you don't know how hard it is to be here. Please, I know I chose to be here, but take me home, and I know I have to come back in the morning. So, and I've had a very loud inner voice of knowing all my life. So for me as a shaman, I too was so connected to nature, but I could hear all of nature talking to me. I could hear the souls of other people. I could feel what they were feeling, and I could also feel it in my body. So I always had that foot in the two worlds. I knew we were all connected. I could never understand, the teenage years got harder, and I could never understand why girls would turn against me and why couldn't we all be friends? Like what I just knew love. Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, why can't we all be friends? So shamanically, it is directly to source. And then if source sends messengers, there are also aspects of me to integrate. Right? Because the universe exists within me, therefore I exist within the universe. And so then if, ISIS or someone like that is sent, I've got questions that I ask to know that it's not of any trickery and to know that it is that expression of source. Source for me too is the masculine, the feminine, the God, the goddess. And yeah, so very connected to earth, but very connected to that inner knowing. So that my inner voice of knowing, as it's taught to me directly, is the inner voice of knowing, power and potential. The knowing is source, the power is soul, and the potential is the successful self that whispers to us, create that book, do that podcast, whatever it might be. And she's like, come on, you're already successful. Let me show you the way. So it's one voice, but 3 components to it. So it's very similar in that depth of connection to earth, in that depth of working with the energy. And I don't like the word manifest because people use that from an egoic perspective. For me, it's that consciously craft and create. How do we work with that energy and the energy of the mind and the emotional energy, the physical energy and the creative field? How do we consciously craft and create our own existence in that and leading ourselves from the inside out? So very similar. It's like becoming the leader within ourselves. It's about seeing that within the other, enhancing that within the other. And it's about living with physical understanding that we are a soul first. So who am I to judge that that's a terrible thing going on here or try to solve it or, encroach on that unless I'm invited into it. So there's so much similarity, the sacredness of ceremony and the true importance of ceremony and what it does for us. Not just light a candle and grab a crystal and, do you know what I mean? There is a sacredness and how it is, the intention involved with it. So very similar.
A lot of parallels.
A lot of parallels. And I love it. I mean, 2 years ago, I walked the Camino de Santiago and the shell and the many pathways and it's the way and the sword of truth, which are the Knights Templars. And and I too, to me, truth is that there's a thread of truth within all religions and all paths. And it's about how do we bridge that gap? right?
Even it's
So
funny you say that, even the Freemasons, I'm just thinking, they would say, so mote it be. And the reason, like, just because I was watching Outlander the last season,
yeah,
and Jamie's created a Freemasons lodge, and he's the grand, because you mentioned Knights Templar, and I'm just thinking of the different societies and groups,
yeah,
and it made me think, and they say in this meeting, so mote it be, and I went, oh, that's right. That's why Gerald Gardner, because he was a Freemason, took that and brought, and that's kind of embraced in modern witchcraft. Now you often read "so mote it be,"
mm,
as it seals a spell or an intention or a gathering.
yeah,
Or I've been saying more recently, and so it is. You know,
yes,
but so
and
mote it be, but it's like it's rooted in all these threads, as you say, that
yeah.
that weave together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I've 11 drums that I've made. One of them's in East Arnhem Land with my son and his partner and 2 daughters, and
Mm,
but they've each got their own um, animal medicine woven into
mm,
them. So they all
mm,
do. They all have their own medicine because people go. They come into my room. It's like, how come you got so many drums? And I go, because
mm,
they're called, drums are powerful. I work
mm-hmm,
with a lot of sound tools
mm,
in my work.
mm,
Speaking is
mm-hmm.
sound, and so when we
Yep.
speak from aligned intention, as you would know, it
Yep.
creates it can create change and healing. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've have the ability to sing energy to people, through people, and out from people, which makes sense why I
Mm,
used to sing to animals. We were on our
mm,
friend's farm and a cow came up once. I looked into its eyes and we were actually one. And then I felt all
beautiful.
this energy and this song just started coming out of me. And then it
Beautiful.
just
Yeah.
finished. And then the cow mooed and just left,
Oh,
you know.
gorgeous. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's the whole world for me
Mm,
shamanically, which means the inner and the outer,
yeah.
the
Mm,
seen and the unseen. And
mm.
we've got to stop living as though they're two separate worlds. They're actually not.
In witchcraft, we has as above, so below. And it was a song even I wrote
Yeah.
in Deaf Effects, as above, so below. And I added as the universe, so the soul.
Yeah.
And yeah, as within, so without. It's
Yeah.
the same.
And
Yeah.
the duality of it. So, for example, when I
Mm,
walked the Camino, the last part of it, I was in excruciating pain. Like
bet. Yeah.
it took
Mm,
everything in me to get up out of the chair. Then it took another few minutes for me to even be able to take a step. Once I got into my
yeah.
pace, I could do it. My
Yep.
best friend was with me and she's an amazing body worker. So she was able to help every night and every
Help you.
morning.
Yeah.
But as
Wow.
I walked in excruciating pain,
Mm.
and as you know, it's hard to describe pain when it's at that level. It's just,
Yeah, I do. I really do know.
but
Yeah.
I was also incredibly present, right?
Mm.
So the
Yeah.
dualities very much exist in a shamanic world for me. So,
Mm.
while I was in that pain, I was noticing things my friend wasn't even noticing.
Yeah.
Like there was one point where it's like, look at those cornfields, because it used to be wine
Mm.
stuff. And then she's like, what
Mm.
cornfields? I'm like, they were about a couple of kilometres on our left. So it's
Yeah.
that learning that you know, the opposites are also one, and that we
Yeah.
can
Mhm.
be highly challenged. So, for example, like you with what you went through, but you
Mm.
can still have presence,
Mm.
or fear and faith can walk hand in hand. And as we move past our comfort zone, we're going to
Mhm.
reach a point of fear, and
Mm.
it's got a purpose. It's like
Well,
it,
fear is the key that unlocks potential. Even as you're
yeah,
saying this, I'm thinking the other thing that, like, pain and change in this physical structure does is it helps you really understand that you're not defined by the parameters of this body.
mm,
It's amazing, and it's a miracle, and it's all the things, and it has all the genetic threads of this timeline and this physical universe and
yeah,
everything, but it's not who you are.
yeah,
And it can change, and it can become challenged and different, and it has its own kind of consciousness. And if you I think that's one of the beautiful gifts of getting sick and then, like, and changing so much. Because I say we don't have to grow old, we can grow better at living.
mm,
And then it's you realize that it doesn't have to stop you from loving your life or having extraordinary experiences or amazing, you know, I just think it's a beautiful gift to be able to understand that we are not our bodies.
Yeah.
And when they change and how they function or how they even look or anything, it doesn't have to define you.
Can I ask you one question now along that lines of the question you asked me? And that is, as a shaman, because people can walk a shamanic path, but it doesn't make them a shaman. But as a shaman, I've experienced lots and lots of things, and lots of initiations and rites of passage and journeys into the underworld and back. But I've had to, because I hold an energy for the collective, so that I can guide them in a way that they don't have to do it in a way that I've done it, if that makes sense. So it's holding a collective energy. Is that the same for you with your witchcraft, or is it more an individual thing, but it connects with all the other energies and becomes a collective?
The only information I've ever received about this, when I've asked, whether I've asked my body or spirit, or, you know, in English words, like, why is it like this? Why am I going through this? And it's so I can understand the pain,
Chills.
the presence, the gifts, the joy, the suffering, of everyone.
Yes.
So that I can be useful.
Yeah.
And that is also, it's not my job to decide how useful, how much, or how little, but just when it's time to be it.
Yes.
And the other thing that's coming to me is when it was kind of during the COVID times, and there was a lot of introspection in everyone's lives then, because everyone's lives, as we knew it, shifted so dramatically. I was also told I was not to be the hammer, I was to be the light.
Yeah.
And so that also means that it's not for me to decide how much or how little, just to show up, be present, take the indicated action, and trust that that is aligned and appropriate.
That is so beautiful. And I think that the common thread between what you're doing and what I'm doing, and how you're living and how I'm living, is if you stepped into one of my ceremonies, you would go, well, this is done differently, but you would feel all the intention and the same heart and connectedness to source as I would coming into something that you do.
Yeah.
I would feel, okay, she's running this, facilitating this differently, but I too would feel the intention and the heart and the connectedness of the oneness of it all.
And that's what brings us all together. Like when I take or facilitate the experiences for my ladies, it's like, whether it's Egypt, Transylvania, Bali, or whatever, wherever, and it's because there is this feeling that doesn't have to be like bound by the color of your skin or what you're wearing or what God you worship or what your story is. It's just being human, I think that's where we, you know, you experience that the most, I think, in natural environments where people are just being together. And that's the loveliest sense of community, when people are just gathered like that in natural environments. I'm even just thinking of like in a park where everyone's just enjoying the sunset in that moment of just being. And I think that's what like I've said to my ladies as well, like, even if you have, because I try to offer the opportunities for cultural exchange to show, as women particularly, we have so much more in common than could ever divide us by, again, color of skin, race, language, God we worship, whatever, or story we have holding the framework of our lives, you know. And that's kind of, I think that is what you're saying as well. It's like that's good. That's how it's meant to be. We're not all meant to be the same, you know. We're meant to be different.
I've been a witch. I've been a witch lifetimes. I've been, you know.
I think it's the word. The word is like, I love how the word has become this different. It's not a dirty word anymore.
Yeah.
A witch is not a dirty word. Even wicked, the way its alphabet's held up as this bastion of that we're meant to have empathy for and understand her different path, you know? Like, I just find it all fascinating.
Thank you so much for the generosity of your time, Fiona. I'm so grateful.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you for sharing your story with me too. It's super interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for crossing paths and finding your way to this podcast. I'm sure the listeners are going to get a lot from it. Cheers.
Thanks, Kay.
Join me on my next episode. And if you love this podcast, please subscribe by clicking on the plus button if you're on Apple, or like and follow on Spotify. Rate and review. And please share Inner Voice of Knowing with your friends.